All right, let's talk about something we use every single second of the day, the internet. When you send an email or, stream a movie, where do you think that data is actually going? We have this image of it all flying through the air, right? Zipping up to satellites or just floating around in some big digital cloud. But what if I told you the truth is way more incredible, a lot more physical, and it's all happening deep, deep at the bottom of the ocean?
It's such a basic question, but seriously, the answer changes everything you think you know about our connected world. Because it's not up in the sky. So, where is it? Well, for years, we've all been sold this beautiful, simple idea of the cloud. And it's a great metaphor, isn't it? It sounds so harmless. It's weightless, it's wireless, it's just this ethereal place where all our stuff just kind of floats around. But that's the thing. It's just a story.
The reality couldn't be more different. It's not a cloud. It's a massive, sprawling, very real network of physical wires. We're talking thick, heavy-duty cables snaking their way across the entire, dark, crushing floor of the world's oceans. And get this, over 95% of all international data traffic goes through these underwater cables. Just let that sink in for a second. 95%. That's not satellites, it's not magic. It's pretty much every international email, every financial transaction, every cat video you've ever watched. I absolutely love this description because it's just so perfect. Think about it, right? Just like the nerves in your body carry all the critical signals that let you live and breathe, this network is carrying the data that keeps our entire modern world alive and kicking. It is literally an invisible nervous system for the planet. And the scale of it is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around. If you were to lay all of these cables end to end, they would stretch over 1.3 million kilometers. That's enough wire to circle the Earth more than 30 times. It's one of the greatest hidden wonders of our time.
Okay, so that's the what, but what about the how? How in the world does this system actually work? How do we send a high-def video across an entire ocean in basically the blink of an eye? Well, the magic ingredient is something called fiber optics. Tucked inside each of these massive cables are these tiny, hair-thin strands of incredibly pure glass. And instead of sending electricity down a copper wire, we send data as pulses of light. We are literally communicating at the speed of light through glass threads lying on the ocean floor. It's amazing.
So when you put it all together, it's actually a pretty straightforward process. First, your data, your email, your video gets converted into these little pulses of light. Next, those light pulses shoot through those fiber optic strands inside the cable. And finally, the whole thing is made possible by these incredible, highly specialized ships that just slowly and very, very carefully lay these cables down on the seabed, literally stitching the continents together.
But you know what's really wild? For all of their incredible importance, for all the data they carry, most of these cables are only about the size of a garden hose. That's it. All of that heavy-duty protective armor is wrapped around a core of fibers that are barely thicker than a human hair. Okay, but here's the thing. This absolutely vital system, this nervous system that we all depend on, it is shockingly vulnerable. Our connection to the rest of the world is so much more fragile than any of us realize. And before we even get into the dangers, let's just be crystal clear about the stakes. This isn't just about whether your favorite show is buffering. We are talking about the literal backbone of the entire global economy. Trillions, with a T, trillions of dollars in financial transactions rely on these cables working every single day.
So what are the big threats? Well, you might be thinking spies or sabotage, but most of the time it's just dumb accidents. The number one cause of cable damage? Ship anchors, just being dropped or dragged in the wrong place. After that, you've got giant fishing trawlers scraping along the seabed. Then, of course, there are natural threats like underwater earthquakes, and get this, believe it or not, sharks have actually been caught on camera biting these cables. It's rare, but yeah, it happens. This combination of being incredibly important and surprisingly fragile, well, that's where we get into the really complex stuff, geopolitics. Because these cables aren't just pieces of tech, they are massive levers of global power. And the logic is pretty simple, right? Control the cables, and you control the flow of global information. If you can control or even just monitor the data that's pulsing through these wires, you hold an incredible strategic advantage. So you better believe that nations see these things as critical national assets. Who owns them, who protects them, and who gets to listen in? These are some of the biggest questions in international politics today. And let's just bring this all back to you for a second. What's actually on the line here? Well, pretty much everything you do online. Every single email you send to a colleague in another country, every video call with family, every stock trade you make, every movie you stream, even the international news you read, it is all totally dependent on these wires staying connected.
So the next time you hear someone talk about the cloud, I want you to remember what's really there. A world held together by a network of garden hose-sized cables running through the crushing blackness of the deep ocean. It is an absolute masterpiece of engineering, but it's also terrifyingly fragile. Which leaves us with a really important question to think about. Our entire modern world is connected by these hidden, fragile threads. What happens if one of them snaps?